Stedore's been a ghost ship, 20 years of empty claims, with hangars full of garbage and dreams that never came. Now he's fishing for new suckers to store more junk inside, while promising his gullible fans hover cars and free energy rides.
We are working on anti-gravity. As soon as we get financed, which again is coming very soon.
Divine insights were handed down, but now they cost a fee. In the wacky world of Wilcock, that's the way it's gotta be. Financial resets, debts erased, a world so fair and bright. The alliance never came, and neither did his wife. The wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. It's the wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. Just buy my course, $300. Enlightenment's the deal. In the wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. Extraterrestrial pals, they're coming here to stay. Disclosure's always just around, but aliens delay. Law of one, the Bible, Bhagavad Gita, all mixed up in one. David's stealing from the best, but his fans think it's a brand new one. Plagiarizing profit, that's his favorite routine. In the wacky world of Wilcock, where nonsense reigns supreme, we'll all get rainbow bodies, whatever that might mean. And Jesus is an alien, the wildest thing you've seen. David's on a hero's journey through dimensions far and wide. Draco reptilians know where he lives, so in his mansion he must hide. Catastrophes and end times, we're on the brink, he said. But my coffee's brewing nicely, and I'm still in my bed. The wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. It's the wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. Just buy my course, $300. Enlightenment's the deal. In the wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. No one's suffering like David in his mansion grand and tall, with eyes and steak and chicken, he's the loneliest of all. His teeth are fake as his prophecies, and courses that he sells. In the wacky world of Wilcock, he's ringing all the bells.
If we bathe in our own urine, we can gain superpowers. Doing the bath does help. You urinate before you get into the bathtub, and then you drink new water out of a glass, and when you're in the bathtub, you can do a little more.
Buy my course, $300. Enlightenment's the deal. In the wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. His PowerPoint slides are packed with schizophrenic rants, forced to stream on YouTube now, bankruptcy's a stance. Stevati Aerospace, a Ponzi scheme they say, so pay pigs better pay up, or like Corey Good he'll stay. So many dates, so many dreams, none of them come true. But hey, don't fret, just buy the course and I'll enlighten you.
For God's sake, take the deal, okay? But you have to take the deal and you have to cooperate. Rise, rise, rise. And you feel yourself, kinetic energy of levitation, tingling across your skin.
In 2012, we all ascend, a cosmic shift was due. But here we are in 24, and nothing much is new. Mass arrests and cover busts, beliefs should quake in fear, yet they're still here, sipping wine, and we're all stuck right here in a world of Greer and Good, Crush and Lou. With their claims, nobody tops David Wilcock with his fringe and wacky games, while they're sharing UFOs and theories kinda tame. David's got aliens who wanna sleep with him and eat him, what a shame. He's the master of the bizarre, with rainbow bodies on display. In the wacky world of Wilcock, where nonsense leads the way. So here's to Dave, the shyster bold, with tales so far-fetched and grand. In his world of make-believe, where fantasy's second-hand, he spins his fairy tales and lies between his YouTube streams for his cat crystal ladies who gobble up his dreams.
Attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back both to Truth Seekers and to a little side project we do here called the Wacky World of Wilcock. For those unaware, or if you're just catching up, we haven't covered David Wilcock in, I believe, 2 months now, and that was after a slew of really terrible accusations he made about me, including that I called animal control on him, that I got him swatted, that he was suing me, and that he was getting me arrested, and there was a big investigation into me. All of that was false, and we have proven that by providing body cam footage. His supposed swatting event was really just an animal control officer responding to a complaint, leaving a little card on his door. He turned that into swatting. He made a multitude of false claims about me, but in an abundance of caution, I took some time off of covering him. I'm happy to report that we're negotiating, but we're going to have media insurance. So should any frivolous lawsuits come our way, he doesn't have to fight with me. He's going to have to fight with a multi-million-dollar insurance company that provides the legal defense due to the insurance. We've also consulted with attorneys, including one Brendan Webb, who we consulted with his office. You might be familiar with that attorney. That's the attorney who completely ripped Corey Good to shreds in those depositions. So should David Wilcock be dumb enough to do anything that he's claiming? I think these claims are just as fake as all the rest, but should he be dumb enough to try to do anything like that? That's probably my preferred lawyer, because he's already familiar with Corey Good and David Wilcock, and he's a hell of a lawyer. We've also been in communication with many nonprofit organizations which help journalists with these type of slap or frivolous lawsuits that are designed to stop people's free speech, freedom of expression. The other issue, I've been talking to lawyers, we do comedic parodies like the one we opened tonight's show with. It's perfectly legal, and almost no one has ever won a lawsuit against somebody that produced a comedic parody about a public figure. David Wilcock, after all, is a public figure. We're allowed to make fun of him, especially when he says things like, an angel told me to take baths in my own piss so I can get superpowers. I got superpowers and stop that bullet from hitting Trump. We're allowed to make fun of him for that. It's ridiculous that he's claiming he's going to sue me, but welcome to the modern world. So tonight we're returning to the wacky world of Wilcock with a series called David Whistleblower Speaks. David Wilcock Whistleblower Speaks. We've got a multitude of people who have a lot of information to share about David Wilcock. Maybe he should think about what comes next the next time he threatens me, my show, or my family. I will not be silenced by a lunatic who's been making false claims on the internet for decades. Just not going to shut up any longer. So congratulations, David Wilcock. You got a 2-month vacation. By the way, he went on a very expensive vacation. I think by some accounts on Twitter, those rooms he was in during his vacation cost $25,000 for the couple weeks he was there. Must be nice. Now, I do have to address one bit of business before we begin with tonight's I think it's going to be an incredible interview. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time. Oh, there we go. Sorry, this new software here. So I just want to make sure that we understand. One of the reasons that I've been doing mostly solo Truth Seeker shows is because inevitably, no matter who I book as a guest here, somebody has a problem with the guest. It's usually 1 or 2 people in the audience that get offended. Why, how dare you have this person? I don't like this person. This person said this 10 years ago. It's usually personal, in my opinion, but I've been doing solo shows because, I don't want to make anybody unhappy, but by the same token, I can't have any guests here. If I cancel on every guest that one person complains about, we'll never have a guest, because in my experience, every guest we've ever had here, somebody didn't like the guest and complained they shouldn't be allowed to be a guest here. I just can't operate like that, and I'm not going to. Now, tonight's guest has made. I am very familiar with some of their early claims. They had a blog and many other things. And I'm sure I strongly disagree or just don't believe some of the claims this person has made, but not about the David Wilcock stuff. And the reason that he's here to talk about what he knows, the inside baseball of being a David Wilcock insider, is because I have verified a great many parts of his stories about that with other parties. In other words, I've done the responsible journalism thing, and I've got multiple sources that say, yes, what he's saying about David Wilcock and his interactions with Wilcock are true. Uh, and that's all that really I can do as a journalist. Now, have I gotten other sources to confirm that all his other claims are true? No, because he's been an internet personality for years. He's talked about a great many things: secret space programs, super soldiers, us living in the matrix. Essentially, there's a lot of things that I'm sure that I disagree with him on, or I just don't. Maybe I just don't believe. We have different belief systems, but as you may well know here, we have burned a lot of bridges here at Truth Seekers. And lately, I've been thinking maybe, just maybe, we should try to build some bridges instead of burning them all down. It can't hurt to have a conversation with somebody, even if you disagree with them. So that being said, we're going to bring our guest in here tonight. Now, you may know him from the internet as Shane the Ruiner, and from his blog as Shane the Ruiner. He is Shane, I think it's Sedore, but I'll check with him as well. Names are important. I should have checked right before broadcast, and I apologize for that. But he has an incredible story to tell, and it really begins with before David Wilcock kind of selected Corey Goode for that Cosmic Disclosure show. It was supposed to be Shane the Ruiner. And for whatever reason, that didn't happen. And we're going to hear all about it tonight. I can't wait, friends. Let's get into it. Welcome, Shane.
Hey, man. How are you?
Except for, being threatened with lawsuits and getting arrested by David Wilcock, I'm good, and I've been buying donuts. The first couple of weeks he said I was getting arrested, I was buying donuts. I was getting ready for those cops, give him some donuts. We got the coffee, the Dunkin' Donuts coffee boxes, just in case. I don't know how many cops show up to arrest you if David Wilcock sends cops to arrest you for free speech. I don't know, but I bought donuts.
Well, that only in this community could someone think that they could get the police involved with something like this. It's the way that I look at it.
It's so stupid. It's just so stupid. So I don't really quite know where to begin, but I will begin here. I want you to take us through, how did you originally get contact with David Wilcock, and what was happening around you that brought you to his attention and that kind of thing?
Well, I had been kind of lurking on forums and in the background, so to speak, as a insider to other speakers before that. And one of the places I would lurk would be Project Avalon. And
Great forum. Yeah, I'm still on there, but I don't use it much.
Corey did his first interview through that. And so I had reached out to Corey because he named a cult and he named it in the proper order, which was weird because everyone in this community gets that wrong. So I was like, maybe he does know something. So I approached him and we became friends, which was kind of just me, checking him out to see how real he actually was. And I didn't think that he was, but he asked me to talk to David Wilcock based on things I had said to him. And I kind of took it at the time that he was trying to use what I seemed to know as a way to vet himself to David or further endear himself to David. Like, look at this insider that I found, and he's going to come in and he's going to corroborate all these things that I'm saying. And so David and I started speaking. And at the time, I had Ramsay Hunt syndrome, which is basically shingles on the inside of your face. And it was right on my facial nerve. So I had like Bell's palsy, but I had facial paralysis.
Oh, I have third nerve palsy from a brain aneurysm. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just still feel it. So every once in a while I'll slur out of the side of my mouth. But anyways, during that time I was off work and I had a lot of free time. So I was like, sure, I'll talk to David. Right. And, I think it was about 4 months of talking to him almost every day and got to know him pretty well. And during that time, Corey was also trying to sell himself to David, basically what was going on. But, David was doing what David does, which is just having the conversations with his insiders and then sharing that information as it went.
His insiders. You're well aware that we've done a lot of work on his insiders, and like
Oh,
Pete
yeah.
Peterson is a complete and total fabrication. His whole history is fake. And then of course he also used Bill Brockbrader as an insider, who's a court-martialed child predator, who's right now a fugitive for failure to register, and was a complete and total fraud. And then we get to Corey being one of his insiders. How did you feel? I hate to jump around, but I have to. I'm sorry. How did you feel when you heard those depositions and Corey basically admitted that he just made it all up?
Oh, well,
Confirming that that's at least a third, completely and totally fake government insider that David Wilcock peddled stories from.
it was so easy. Like, it wasn't even like David will say things to you and you basically just have to say yes. So it's not a
Oh,
real.
I agree. Yeah, you're right, David. The pyramids. Yeah.
You've heard about this? Of course I have, right? That kind of stuff. So it was no surprise. But, basically what had happened is both Corey and I were talking to David at the same time. Corey was trying to sell himself to him. I was just having conversations with him. Like, I kind of like David in a kind of personal way, like, or at least I did at the time. We would talk about music. It wasn't always about conspiracy crap. Like, we would
No,
just.
listen, I don't blame you. I have to say, like, if not for him, I feel a certain kind of way because I got very biased hearing like Survivor David Wilcock cult member stories. So I started to really dislike him. But if not for the grifting, the guy's interesting. He is smart. He's into a lot of weird shit, and so am I. I think that I could hang out with him and we'd be fine. But the grifting kills it for me.
Yeah. And so we were in the situation. I remember it very vividly because I was with my girlfriend who has no background in any of this stuff, but knew I was talking to David, knew the situation. And David was going to do a conference, and he had at first invited me to go there and speak. And I live in Canada. I didn't have a passport, couldn't do it. And then he was like, well, can I talk about you at it? I'm like, talk about whatever you want, right? So, and then he did. And so we're on the forum, Corey's there, and Corey's again trying to sell himself to David, and David's giving this live talk, and Corey's listening to it too. And
We have the video of Corey in the audience while David was talking before anybody knew who Corey was. I have that whole video. Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, this is a different one because Corey was at home listening to this one at the time.
Oh, okay. This is a different one.
It had already happened, and Corey had already pointed it out that David was repeating things I had said more than what Corey had said. He's having this meltdown on the forum. My girlfriend and I are sitting there just cracking up laughing because, like, he doesn't. I don't think he understood that it was coming from me, and he started going on about how this is proof that there's a dark alliance against me, and all of this stuff had started. And for a very long time, I was the Dark Alliance. Like, when he first wrote that blog about the Dark Alliance.
I was too, but I was a later member.
But they sent the Illuminati whistleblower to discredit him. That was me he was talking about. And so I was putting out the blog, and to comment on the blog, I started writing the blog for a group of friends. The alternative community found it, and then I made adjustments based on that. But they found it because of the one that's titled Avians, where I'm basically saying that this dude's full of shit. Right? Sorry if I can't throw on your show, but
I gotta tell you though, like, listen, I love hearing this inside baseball, but when I gotta invent a new term for this, but like, you got a lot of crazy, wacky beliefs. So when you say this other guy with his crazy, wacky beliefs is full of shit, by the way, I agree with you, but then it's kind of like, well, pot kettle black, dude. Like,
oh yeah, no, I totally get that, right? But like, I'm talking to people who know the same things I do. It's not people within this community at the time when I wrote that. I adjusted after that one got found and got used, and I think David Icke's forum put it up. Carrie Cassidy started sharing it. A bunch of people found it and started blowing it up all over the alternative community. And then the next thing I know, everyone's coming to my blog, and I went from like 13 to 20 people reading it to
that blog was huge,
massive overnight, like literally overnight. I woke up.
Well, I guess when David Icke and Carrie Cassidy are sharing links for you, it's going to blow up.
Yeah. And so from there, I had to realize that, all the same people that I've been lurking around are also reading this now. So I'm going to have to write this differently. And so I did. And that's where, like, I started really fictionalizing it and playing within the terms of the alternative community as they knew it. And, there was no intention.
Wait. Let's stop you right there.
Yeah.
You started fictionalizing it.
Yeah. Making things up.
in other words, you started just making shit up and putting them on this blog.
And adding it into what
And
I
tell us what the reaction to the fictionalized posts was. Everybody just believed it was all true. I remember
absolutely.
this.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember this. And listen, I'm gonna put my cards on the table and tell you something. And but we're okay now, right? We're okay now. But at the time when you started with that blog blowing up, I remember people sending me links and stuff, and I would read like half of what you wrote or something. And go, this guy's so full of shit. Like, do you really believe this shit? This is so fake. What the hell? So I got it right, but and listen, I apologize for. I might have. I think that I did publicly say like, "Oh, that guy's so full of shit. He waddles when he walks or something," you know.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that basically you were doing a goof. You were doing a goof. Like, I'm just going to write fake shit and let these people enjoy it, right?
Well, there's things that I believe that are similar to what the alternative community believes based on my experience with what the internet calls the Illuminati, but it's not the same. But what I did was I fictionalized it so it did sound the same. And that way I'm telling,
Wait, this sounds like the Corey Good legal defense. This is my
it really
intellectual
is.
property, and it was
Exactly the same
created
thing,
off of
right?
my real world experiences.
And if I were to go like, that was the funny thing, like I wouldn't be able to do what Corey did and just sit there and go, yeah, this is all not true. The way that he did it, I would,
Yeah, so let's get back to that. So you're basically one of the people that is feeding David Wilcock so-called insider information.
and
But were
many
you
others before.
feeding him things that you truly believed were 100% true, or were you feeding him the fictionalized shit?
A little bit of both.
A
Yeah.
little bit of both. And he was running with. Did he run with everything you sent him?
Oh
He
yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't vet anything, require additional sources, information. He just you told him something, and he would talk about it someplace, right?
Yep. And I was already familiar with the community from working that way with them before that, where like working with actual disinformation artists who were going into the community and feeding them information that they would run to the conferences and repeat verbatim as if they heard it from some government top secret person. And really, I know that person. That's not where they got it from, right? So I already had that background with the community. So at that point, it was a little bit trollish and it was a little bit curious because I do believe a lot of similar things to what a lot of these people say, but my experiences with them make them very different. So I don't believe anyone else who claims the same things I claim. I don't believe, and that's where it sounds ridiculous.
Do you know? I don't know if you know this, but I have a term that's called the wackadoo prover maneuver. And basically, you and Corey Good did the wackadoo prover maneuver. Like Corey Good's trying to say, this other wackadoo who's saying all this crazy shit said a lot of the same shit that I did, so therefore it's all true.
Yeah,
and they did the same thing with Corey. Like William Tompkins confirmed that his information is 100% accurate. These are two guys that are just telling stories with no evidence. So to me, it doesn't have any evidentiary value when one wackadoo, no offense, I'm not saying that you're a wackadoo, I like you. It took a while, but I do, right? It's just fascinating to me that like the community goes, well, two people said it, so therefore it's truth. Right?
I can actually remember a comment on the forum somewhere around the time where it was like, Mr. Illuminati liar is saying this, Mr. Secret Space Program liar is saying that, and they're both saying each other are lying, so they both must be telling the truth. Was something that people had like put together out of all of it. But yeah, the whole thing is ridiculous, is what it is, and I was very happy to. So while I was writing the blog, nobody really knew who I was. People at behind the scenes at Project Avalon had figured it out because I used to be a moderator there, and I had connected the dots between certain things I had said back then and certain things that I was saying in the blog, and so people were asking me for interviews. I was getting blown up in the email account, but all that time I was still anonymous, right? And then it was right. The whole thing with Corey started playing out from there. So I think I kind of gone off track with it, but
but let's get to so when Wilcock was right before, I suppose, before Cosmic Disclosure started, it seems to me from hearing you here and other sources that Corey Good was kind of like enamored by David Wilcock and knew that that could be his ticket to fame and fortune, right? And he was trying to use you. He basically climbed over you to get to David Wilcock. It seems to me, as a
Sort of. David
impartial
offered me
observer.
the gig. Asked me. The way David put it is, I just spent however much time with Corey, putting him up in a hotel with 5 stars, 5-star steaks and sushi, trying to flex like David does. And I realized I've got all I can get out of him, and I want to focus on your story.
And wait, this is before they ever started Cosmic Disclosure. I spent a couple of days with him. I've gotten everything I could get out of him.
And then he told me all about Cosmic Disclosure and how he had this deal to do it and what it was going to be, and asked me if I would come do it. And he was okay with the passport. And
so you were supposed to get Corey Good's eventual gig there first.
Yeah, he was trying to even trying to incentivize my girlfriend to move to Colorado and stay with them so that we could film it. I think that was where they were filming it, was Colorado. Might have been
yeah.
But yeah, I turned it down. I was like, I'm not doing that, right? Like there's no way. But 4 days later, all of a sudden the Sphere Being Alliance exists, and all of a sudden Corey remembers the Blue Avians, and all of a sudden there's this whole story there ready to go. And that was when I kind of just went, oh, David doesn't believe any of this stuff either. And he's just making money off of it, and he knows that. And I think that Corey eventually had to see that as well. And that's where these guys get to with a lot of this stuff, is they realize that it's just business.
Yeah, well, it's funny when you go from David Wilcock saying, I spent a couple of days in a hotel with him and I got everything I could get out of him, to 5 years of telling increasingly more grand stories. And I'm sure you've heard like Jay Widener say that he was sure towards the end that they were just getting together in the hallway and like back and forth making up stuff, and you'll say this and I'll say that. And then they, he woke up and said, well, if they're willing to make up the whole last season of this, then maybe they were making it all up. He finally kind of had a come to Jesus awakening moment about these guys. It's just fascinating to me that before they even started the show, David Wilcock's like, yeah, I got everything that I could get out of him. And then, like you said, suddenly there's these blue avian aliens he's remembering, and it's no coincidence that they bear a striking resemblance to the Law of One material stuff, which he knew David Wilcock loved that shit. Do you think he designed his fake stories specifically to appeal to David Wilcock?
Absolutely. I have no idea where it would be at this point, but I mean, we had a whole PDF file of that guy's forum posts and all of the doublespeak that he had done. And, the fact that he didn't believe Law of One, but David was really into it. And then,
it's so fast. I'm sorry to keep interrupting you. It's so fascinating. In the depositions, he says, yeah, I don't really believe in the Law of One. And then I made a video where then we showed he sold the $333 course, The Blue Avians and the Law of One. So talk about double speak, right? Oh, I don't believe any of that stuff, but I'll sell a $333 course on it. It's so, these guys are slimy.
That's where
these guys are so slimy.
That's one of those moments in the deposition where I just went off, for fuck's sakes. Finally, he admitted to that. I knew that all along because he had said it to me multiple times. Like, he had made fun of David for believing it. And then all of a sudden, it's the entire basis of this stuff. So I think basically Corey got jealous because he realized that David was focusing more on me than on him, and had to make the story bigger and sexier like they always do. And the rest went from there, because I was just like, okay, this is nonsense. Like, what are you doing, David? You know that this isn't real. Like, what did you say to me 4 days ago? You know that this isn't real. And he gave me this whole line, and it might be the last few Skype messages I have from him, actually, about how, the Alliance and whatever, who was the guy, Lieutenant Gonzalez, whatever the original lieutenant they were talking to way back, it's so long ago now, I don't remember the names. But I'd warned them that they can't talk to me because I still work for the Illuminati and I'm there to discredit them and all this nonsense. And I'm just like, dude. And there's been multiple occasions where I've known he was in Canada, and I'm like, you want to just talk? Because we used to do that. And I would love for you to try to justify all of this to me, because you know that I know better, at least, right?
You know the inside baseball of this. And whether, and for the benefit of my audience, those depositions, Corey Good never thought anybody would ever hear them or see them. But he's such a goober, and his lawyer is so terrible that they screwed that up. And they all became public, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but he threatened to sue me if I didn't take them down. But I already had consulted with the courts and the attorney and an attorney, and I knew what the legal screw up they did that allowed me to legally publish them. So I didn't back down. I'm like, no, I'm not taking them down, because I thought that, even under threat, I knew like it's so important that people hear this stuff that he doesn't think anybody's ever going to hear or see. It just destroys this whole grift, in my
That goes all the
opinion.
way back to the forum days where he was getting the forum moderators to delete all of his old posts and censor people who were talking shit about him and all of
Very,
those types of
very
things.
manipulative guy, don't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just a bad human being. And I'm a whistleblower, so I believe a lot similar things to that world. But everyone's telling me at the time, oh, he's under mind control. It's this. He's caught up by that. I'm like, guys, can't shitty people just be shitty people? Excuse my language again, but
Yeah, it could be.
why can't people just be grifters anymore? Why can't people just be bad people anymore? Why do we have to attribute it to AI possession or a demon possession or any of that stuff? But
Yeah, he's under control of the reptilian Draco
exactly,
overlords or something.
yeah.
What was it like for you to see his story arc, beginning with how big that thing blew up, and then seeing the controversy as he like threatened critics, sued everybody? Like, what was it like for you to be, because you were there at the seed of all of this, and you could have been him, like, that saying, there for the grace of God go I. Like, this could have been you, Shane, if you were that kind of a guy that was seeking fame and fortune and
Willing to just keep
followers. And
making a bigger, sexier
what
story.
was it like to see him blow up so big, and then to start to see him unravel and go crazy, threatening everybody? And what was that like?
Well, the last part of it has been fun for sure. At the time, I laughed at it, but it was just frustrating to see so many people buy it, right? Because
By the lie, yeah.
like I say a lot of things that may sound similar, like I've said multiple times already, and things that you're probably not going to believe, but I'm not trying to sell them to you, if that's the
Your
difference. Like,
blog was always free, right? It wasn't even a monetized blog, I don't,
exactly, the
as
blog, and
best I
for the
recall.
first years, like I do things behind the Patreon paywall now because I don't want to pollute that community. I don't want to be a part of the noise that they take and put me into.
You got to come back sometime, and we'll go through your actual claims and beliefs. But I'll be respectful, I promise, because
Sure, we could do that for sure.
I love some of the stuff I saw you do with like Ryder from Raised by Giants, like ripping apart some of these fake super soldiers and frauds. But then I'm
Well,
like, but wait a minute, you're kind of wacky too, bro. So that's too much to unpack in one
I
night.
don't claim any of that stuff, right? Like I don't really claim that there's anything really all that special about me, and anything that I could attribute to myself, any other human being could potentially do given the situation. But again, that's a conversation for another day. Either way, I don't need anyone to believe me. I'm not on the internet for any type of validation. So if you want to think I'm a liar, go right ahead. I exist without the ruiner. Right? Like I have a life, I have a job, I have a family, I have things that I love, and passions and all of that stuff without Shane the Ruiner. So
Well, that's why you didn't get sucked in like Corey Good did. Because don't you think, like, I mean, you got to know him. Like, my take on Corey Good was that he was like that invisible nerd that was kind of a loser, that nobody really cared about what he had to say or do. He has no, like, I mean, I don't know. I grew up in being in bands, so that became a source of like pride for me and attention. But he just appeared to me to be like a total loser at life. And then he stumbles into this, and of course he's going to hold on to it, like, and want more of it. He became, I've known many people that you get addicted to that attention, especially if your whole life you felt invisible. All of a sudden, people care what you think. Hundreds or thousands of people are going to show up and pay money to hear you speak. Don't you think that he kind of just got sucked in to the fame side of it?
Absolutely. I think David Wilcock did too, right? I think that he probably hit a wall where he realized none of this stuff was real, but it's a lot more attention I got than in high school, right? And, I wasn't unpopular in high school and I fronted bands, so I didn't really ever crave that same type of
Well, see,
attention.
that's the reason, and it's the same thing here. Like Shane, I've had far too much spotlight in my life, so I can take or leave this. I enjoy it, but like if it ended tomorrow, I wouldn't be that, I'd be, oh, find something else to spend my time doing, or, I just don't need the spotlight. And some people, you can see it. Like Corey Good has to be seething right now because I don't know if you know this, but it was a strange revelation to me. Somebody sent me his Social Blade and mine, like two screenshots, and they sent an email and just said something like, Steven, I just want to let you know that your show gets far more views than Corey Good on an average daily basis. His channel's in the shitter. He's getting like 600 views a day or something. I don't think, do you think he's still got you got to give him props for after the stunning revelation of those depositions getting caught saying, I made it all up, that he's still trying to keep the grift going, right?
It's their whole life, man, right? Like they built their entire identity exists around that big sexy story that they've created, and they can't give it up. And that's one thing, like at the height of the Ruiner, when I should have been monetizing it all, I disappeared for 2 years because right? I don't need to live, right? And
I had a few people while you were like off grid, like, hey, do you know what happened to Shane the Ruiner? He just disappeared. I go, I don't really know him, but I hope he's okay. That's what I would say to people, But I guess, did you just have enough and say, I'm going to bounce out for a while?
Yep. Yeah. And it's the same reason, like, right, going all the way back to the beginning, like, as this community does, there's a business there, and people will get behind people like me and try to build forums or try to build these things. And I had numerous people trying to do that when that first started, some good people and then eventually not so good people, but people kept coming to me and trying to throw money behind me to get me to be Shane the Ruiner full time and do that kind of a gig. But like, I can't just sit there and lie to people forever. And my story, it actually happened. So it's not as big and sexy as the blog.
Allegedly happened.
Believe what you want. But anyways, but yes, allegedly happened. There's no proof for any of it. So you shouldn't just believe me because I'm saying it. Has always been something that I've stood behind. Just because I'm saying I believe it or I say that I did it doesn't mean you need to believe that. And I don't care if you do either one way or another.
Well, but see, isn't that interesting that when you personally don't have a financial motive to make people believe you or not believe you, so you're so much more laid back, whereas somebody like Corey Good or David Wilcock, their whole existence is like, I've got this secret sacred knowledge and you have to believe me and buy my crap so that I can live this luxurious, and by all accounts both of them blow through money like drunken sailors on leave, right?
Yeah.
Wilcock just spent 20 something $1,000 on a hotel room in Canada, in that touristy, there's mountains. I mean, I'm sure it's nice, but the hotel room that he was in, the internet is, I will never quit the internet because it's interesting. Somebody found through, he was live streaming from the hotel room he was taking his vacation in. And I'll see if I can't share my screen because I want to get your reaction to just this because I think it's funny. Okay, so somebody tracked down, I haven't verified this, but somebody tracked down, he's usually very good and his research is good. The room that David Wilcock was staying in for 3 weeks in Canada was $1,795. Oh, it's a cabin. You rent the cabin for $1,795 a night. So 3 weeks of $1,800 a night, and by the same thing, he's saying that he's broke. He doesn't have any money. And then he said, I only make, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't, new software for me here. Let's see if we can't, oh man, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Oh, this is how we got it. No, hold on. There we go. Sorry, friends, new software, and I have to jury rig it to get it to do this. But this person wrote, it's wild. On his last stream, he said his benefactor sent him more money so that he could survive. This after going on a $3,000 3-week vacation that cost him north of $20,000. These are a couple of the room choices to where Wilcock went on vacation. There were a couple of people that thought Wilcock was staying in another hotel. I think the info came from someone in our group here. I remember David saying that he was going to a place where he had been before. The last time he was on vacation in Canada, he went to this place. On one of his streams, he showed a picture he took from his room showing the view. It's this place that he went, So he said he stayed in cabins, not the main lodge. Prices listed are Canadian. Lodge nightly rate, $1,230. King cabin, I believe this is the room he stayed in, $1,292 for his 3 weeks, $21,973. And he has also essentially said, how we get this back? Okay. He has also, I made a funny video because in the same stream, he said, I last year I made about $250,000. And then he said, it's really not enough. It's barely enough to survive. So when you say this is a business, like it's a good business, bullshit is good business.
Yeah,
Shane the Ruiner.
What he does and what Corey did, what they both did together, is not dissimilar to what everyone else is doing. They're getting together. They're having circle jerks behind the scenes. They're talking about all of this. They're making sure they're not stepping on each other's stories. They're making adjustments to their own stories so that it sounds like the last person's, just a little bit different so that I can sell my thing separate from you being able to sell your thing. But we have to be able to present at the same conference. So this all has to sound like the same thing, right? And they do that. Like even on the group calls that they would do, I know because I've been parts of them. They do.
Oh, wait. So because you're like an insider, all this, you can verify that you've been on group calls where the bullshit that was going to be presented at a paid conference was being worked out and made more
saying things like I had one popular researcher screaming, "You're messing with my money." Things like that because we were posting something he didn't like, as an example.
Oh my God.
That's the way that this business works. That's why you'll notice that the conferences are almost like cliquey, or it's like the same kind of people, and they overlap a little bit, but they tend to be the same. And that's why, because they don't want to step on each other's toes in such a way that Speaker A says one thing and that makes Speaker B's stuff sound like nonsense, even though it's all nonsense, right? Going back to that.
Yeah, so they all have to work together. And I've talked about this too. There's sort of an unwritten rule that only gets broken once in a while when there's a feud or there's not enough money to go around, in my opinion. And that unwritten rule among all of these UFO, truther, SSP, super soldiers, even whatever, psychics that work together is like, don't mess with my grift or my wallet, and I won't say anything about yours. And then they kind of co-sign each other's bullshit. So it seems more plausible, and you see this, like they don't talk shit on each other generally, unless there's a big, beef up like we've seen a few times,
They do behind the scenes. Right. And that's just it. They don't necessarily publicly unless there's that, because you got to keep the business flowing. It's like celebrities on a smaller scale, but the same type of social dynamic. And that's all it is. It's a business. And that's why, there's nothing has ever come from any of it. Is what, it boils down to.
Yeah, I have a thing with a lot of this stuff is like disclosure's just around the corner, It's always just around it's like to chase the carrot, the self-licking ice cream cone, echo chamber.
Where people started getting mad at me because I started saying that like we're not getting disclosure about aliens because our government's not playing with aliens, guys. Like you got to stop this. If they were, they don't need our permission to land on the White House lawn. This whole thing is absurd if that's what was really going on.
Yeah, this makes no sense to me. If they can travel through different star systems, they're not crashing all the time and just letting us have, super advanced technology from their home world. It doesn't make sense.
Stuff, right? When I'm saying
that's something that we can believe, we can agree on. See that building bridges.
When I was saying that, like all of the secret space program memories and all of that stuff, it's been them playing with different technology that messes with people's minds that make them believe things that aren't true.
Well, there's
And
MK Ultra, so there's some
right,
precedent for
yeah,
that.
right. And a lot of the technology I spoke about in the early days is out in the public now. So it's all coming that way. I think it was in like 2017. I said to the UFO community, I'm like, guys, like if nothing comes of this by the end of 2018, I think you should all just shut the up because none of this makes any sense. Disclosure is going to be companies like DARPA showing us a robot when really they've got 10 models past that, and so on. That's what our
Well, I
disclosure.
don't know if you know this, Shane, but my little story of top secret projects is I once worked at Drexel's robotics lab.
Okay.
And here's what I can tell you, they had shit in there that we still haven't seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they
And
were
that's
developing, I think I can say it now, they were developing surveillance platforms. I'm just going to leave it at that. But some of the surveillance platforms that they were developing at Drexel University for DARPA, that's who was paying the bills there. And by the way, it was difficult for me to get any information because they basically I was supposed to stay in the server room. But I'm a curious guy, like, what's in this lab?
you were
Nobody's
the
around
plumber.
today.
You
They
should have
had
been the
shit
plumber.
in
You
there
weren't.
that we still have not seen publicly. They had surveillance platforms, some of them lighter than aircraft. And I don't want to say anything else. But they had shit in there that you still haven't seen publicly. And it wasn't like first generation prototype. It was like fully working, duplicatable. Like if the powers that be said, yeah, we like this platform because it does this and this, they had platforms with multicams, so that they could view like an entire horizon, and they had so much shit, and they could duplicate it. If the powers that be liked it, they could make more of them quickly and then deploy them. And this was, of course, during the whole Desert Storm and all of that stuff. So they wanted good surveillance platforms for the battlefield. You're right. The government has things. And here's another bridge that I have something called the dark playground hypothesis, that there's a dark playground of super advanced technology that only very few people get to play in that playground. And that's
It's
what a lot of this stuff is to me.
I've heard one of the Weinsteins actually say it's like an alternative branch of science that goes on behind it, underneath all of these universities. That's what people are pointing to when they say things like Illuminati. It's not a lot of what they think. It's a lot of stuff like that, where it's we have a kind of alternate university system and an alternate platform for technology research. And when I talk about the programs, it's programs where they're testing this stuff on people. And most of those people would be, homeless people that were extendable, a lot of the people who go missing, things of that nature that get attributed to Bigfoot and aliens and stuff like that, because it's a lot better if we attribute everything to aliens and whatever.
It's a cover. It's a cover.
Exactly. Than
Yeah.
it is than
Don't
for
look for those black
government.
projects. Look for the aliens that are visiting us.
Yeah. And the ideology within it all leads to that too, which is like that transhumanist idea where humans are bad and we need to either ascend on the David Wilcock end of that, or we need to Neuralink or something on the other end of that. But the ideology is still within our community in both ways, and that's what it is. It's don't believe it's humans. It's the ancient astronauts stuff, which is where my kind of career in all of this started, which was informing people about ancient astronaut theory so that ancient aliens would get made eventually, as an example. And that
Well, that's pretty
saying things
wild.
like that is why this community doesn't like me as much as they did when I first came out. Even Donald Marshall was someone who championed me right out of the gate until he realized that I said that the blue avians weren't real, and then he gave me the door too, right? And that's just the way that these people play.
Well, you're right. This whole community is very cliquey. Like,
Yeah.
I've had so many people who are like, "Oh, I love your show. I totally love your show," and then I bust somebody that they like, and then suddenly I'm an asshole disinformation CIA guy or something, and I'm like, "Come on, man, come on." It's kind of stupid. But I wanted to ask you. There's been a long-standing theory among many of my audience members. People have talked to me about this, that essentially a lot of people were making a lot of progress into peeling back the layers of deception that the United States government was using to cover for a secret space program. But I mean things like the X-37B, secret satellites, surveillance technology, and other space projects. And since they wanted to keep the researchers away from that, they basically send in the clown. And that clown those clowns that they sent in to muddy the waters was David Wilcock and Corey Good, because after David Wilcock and Corey Good, whenever anybody said secret space program, the first thing people thought was blue chicken aliens and time travel and reptilians and all this ridiculous stuff. And everybody forgot about the very real, like when people say, oh, there's no secret space program, Stephen, I go, one thing proves there is, the X-37B, which stays up in orbit for a year and a half, and nobody knows what it's doing up there for a year and a half. That alone is proof positive that there is, for sure, a real secret space program. Do you think there's any truth to this idea that maybe some of these people are put there to muddy the waters and to throw people off the real trail of what they're really trying to conceal?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I used to be paid to tell people stuff like that so that they would share it at conferences and go on with all of this UFO stuff. So I know firsthand that, yeah, they do that. They've been doing that since the beginning.
Wait,
Even
but paid by who? Who was paying?
That would get me in trouble to say due to NDAs as an example. And other things.
Oh no, you're going to pull the NDA. I've never had somebody pull the NDA on me.
Well,
It's top secret, Stephen. I can't tell you who was paying me to spread intentional disinformation, or
technically it would be my government.
Well, there is definitely a precedent for that. After all, we have the Benowitz case.
For the record on that, my government is Canadian government.
We have Richard Doty in the Benowitz case that confirms that the government sends people into the UFO community to purposefully disinform and misinform and muddy the waters. So maybe
a layer on top of that would be pointing out Doty, but not pointing out the rest of them. Right. And so everyone's focused on one. That's a commonality thing. I call it the throwing someone under the bus, like an Epstein, like a Weinstein, like a Diddy now, right? Where we get like one big name and then that's enough to shut everybody up. Same thing happened with disinformation agents within the alternative community going back to its earliest days, because this all predates the internet, right?
Sure. Oh, yeah. The 80s.
Yeah. The people who run these programs were very well aware of the internet's existence before it became used by everybody else, and knew that this day would come where we'd be able to share information whenever we wanted to, right? So, yeah. And now that it's become the alternative community mainstream, we have, these seemingly government whistleblowers. Like, I think the guy's name on the screen right now reminds me of one.
Yeah, he said, it's a parody account. He comes here and makes fun of Lou Elizondo. NDAs, I know your pain, brother, is what he said for the benefit of the audio podcast listeners. And, so back to Wilcock, though. So
for a number of years, and I did events for the WWE, and they made me sign NDAs as well, just for things that I heard of, right? So NDAs aren't really all that discommon.
No, I've signed one. I've signed one for work purposes a bunch of different times because I worked for technology companies and they guard their technology secrets. And I had to sign non-competition agreement and an NDA agreement, and yeah. So, but back to the Wilcock and Corey Good launching this cosmic disclosure. So you were supposed to get that gig, but we kind of trailed off there. So what happened with you saying no, and why did you say no to the gig? And then how did Corey Good slide in there and get it when he was apparently, out of information in 2 days in a hotel room?
Because it wasn't going to be just whoever's, like, it wouldn't have been just my information. It would have been all of David's information being kind of fed through me. So what he needed was a character to also play the role. And what Corey did by inventing his Sphere Being Alliance and Blue Avians was give David that big story that he would need, that he could then add all of his other research into, and then draw that out over however many episodes they did.
Wait, but let's kind of drill down on this. So, did David Wilcock tell you I need a character to put through this, or that was your impression though, that he needed a character to portray a whistleblower?
What he said to me was like he was going to focus on my information, but he also wanted me to verify some other stuff that he had, right? Which tells me that we're basically going to be creating these episodes together. Is basically what it comes down to, which means a collaboration. So it's not really just my testimony in any way. It's this dramatic testimony that we're going to create together. So that was part of it that I said no. And why I understood what happened when it did happen. I mean, I didn't watch cosmic disclosure, but definitely saw what everybody was sharing and clips enough to get like, that's not all Corey, right? Like
It's
that's,
Corey and David working together to create a narrative. Yeah. So
yeah,
basically, you lost the gig because you weren't willing to play ball and co-sign or confirm or
I'm the
wackadoo
lost
prove
the
or
gig.
maneuver David
I didn't want
Wilcock's
the gig.
bullshit.
I didn't want the gig, and but because of that, yeah, because I didn't, I didn't. I've never set out to be a professional liar, right? So, um,
Did you ever regret it though, knowing that Corey Good has made millions? You ever think about that and say, well,
no,
I could have made millions and just retired after a couple years of lying to people?
no, I don't think so. Um, yeah, I don't. I
So
don't know.
no
I have
regrets
to live
not
with
taking
me.
the gig.
I have to live with me. You guys don't have to live with me. I have to live with me, and my integrity matters to me. So, despite what anyone might think of anything that I say, it matters to me, and I have to live with me. If I did that, I wouldn't be able to live with me. Let's put it that way.
Well, it kind of makes sense, and I know you're, regardless of what we disagree on, I know you're like a really smart guy. You're very well read on a lot of esoteric stuff and conspiracy history and all of this stuff. So was it really like David Wilcock is too full of shit? Was that the deal breaker? Because he wanted you to co-sign his bullshit, right?
Not really. Again, like I didn't want to be on a television show about that kind of stuff, right? Just in general, that's not who I want to be in the world. So I didn't want the gig, and I kind of know where David was at on a personal level, and I don't feel like I should talk about that publicly. But he needed to make that show. Let's put it that way. He needed to get that show done, and I felt like I was letting him down when I said no. But I definitely lost that feeling a few days later when he came back to me trying to sell me with the Spear of Being Alliance had contacted him through Corey. And I was like, okay, yeah,
Oh, so he told you that the Spear Being Alliance had contacted him through Corey. And now we know that Corey just made up the spear beings and the aliens and all of that shit. So, and you mentioned that you kind of believe that both Corey and David know this is all fake and it's just money, it's business.
yeah, yeah.
Really?
Absolutely. That's my 100%. It would take a lot to make me feel differently about
Do you
either one.
think that applies to all of David Wilcock's so-called material? Do you think he knows that like Pete Peterson is a fake insider and Bill Brockbrader was a fake insider?
At this point, yeah, like that's what I mean. Like, my personal theory is that at some point in time, he realized that none of this world that they were creating was real. That there was no cabal coming to get him for the stuff that he was talking about. No one gave a damn what Carrie Cassidy was
Well,
doing.
people are getting him swatted, Shane. So
Oh,
there's that.
I mean, right? Yeah, and we all see how that actually looks now, right? So there's never been anything to it. It's the same thing with, oh, there's a black helicopter flying over my house. Okay, but anyways, this is yeah,
Yeah,
I
black
he knew
helicopters fly
that,
places. It's not instant proof of the men in black out to get you or attack
right?
you or
Yeah.
something.
But I feel like he knew that at the point in time he was talking to me, and he was really just looking to make money. I think
Well,
that
and this old audience member I haven't seen in quite some time, Horse Lover Fat, says, "Wow, Shane the Ruiter, what a throwback!" Yeah, it took me years to get him here, but I'm glad to see you here. Nice to see you here. We've got a bunch of people that used to watch the show back in the day that I guess are like, "Oh, Shane the Ruiner is on Steve Cambion's show." Like, I think weren't we supposed to do this before? This was totally my fault, but I think we were going to do it before, but I didn't.
when a certain mutual friend kind of had a public go at you, I reached out just to have a personal conversation with you to kind of
Yes, that's what happened. Yeah, that's what happened.
I
Yeah.
don't feel like I'm probably the best fit for your show because of what you do, and that's not because I feel like I can't take your scrutiny because I just don't give a fuck. But it's because I appreciate what you guys
Yeah,
do.
but you know what? I think you and I, like, we've already kind of developed this rapport. I could tell from we're into an hour here. Like, I think you could take it. I
Oh, yeah.
wouldn't be an asshole. I would just say, like, come
You
on,
wouldn't
this is crazy.
tell through anything, right? Like I had
I think
somebody
I
trying to
think we could
screw
have
me.
a fun conversation about all of that stuff, but that's maybe a story
I've
for
had
another
people get on
time.
the phone with me and scream at me for an hour, and that made them
No,
feel
I
better,
wouldn't do
I guess.
that.
So,
No, I
but,
wouldn't do
but
that.
yeah,
I, here's what I'll tell you. I for sure believe in secret societies. I've got family members that are Masons. Like, I know those are secret societies are real and ancient. We've always had secret societies. So that part, I'll at least entertain what you have to say, and the other stuff, maybe there's a lot of
So
strange things that happen in the world.
I call those the cults, and I talk about those, and I talk about programs where they're testing technology on humans when applicable for stuff that we're starting to see come out now. And then I talk about projects, which is the way that they roll that out into the public. And that's the Illuminati to me. Right? It's not like obviously the cult stuff. Yes, there's the rituals, there's the magic or their proposed magic, all of that stuff, which is basically just psychology, but that's a conversation for another day too. But
Yeah, I always thought there's got to be something to magic because of just focused mental energy.
yeah,
In other words, if you go through the ritual process to focus your intention on getting something, that's got to help. It's just got to help. Like maybe it's not like Harry Potter world of magic, but you're focusing your intention. You're letting the universe know you need something, you desire this thing, and you're going to take whatever steps you can to get that thing.
yeah,
There's something to it.
which
As
makes,
my will, so mote it be. I'm not a
yeah.
Wiccan or a Satan worshiper like David Wilcock said, but that's very powerful.
And if I
Your
remember
will is
correctly, you
very
played
powerful.
illusion magic, right? Like you were a magician, like a illusion magician. Was that you?
Yeah, I was a stage magician. Yeah.
So even that, you understand how like that is based in psychology. You're more or less messing with the viewer's perception, right?
Yeah,
Which is
absolutely.
right.
And I enjoyed that so much sometimes. I would so totally enjoy that.
And so when I teach about magic, that's what I'm teaching about psychology and how we put energy behind our thoughts, and then our actions really do matter, right? Where a lot of this community is based on, let's just sit in our basement and talk about aliens for 900 years. The way that we live matters. And so, yeah, like what I say is I basically teach a Tony Robbins course that is contextualized around magic as a word, because as it says right on the screen right now, for whatever reason, it works.
It
And,
works. Yeah, I believe that some of it does. I mean, just like motivational speaking can be very powerful when you are attempting to do something difficult,
we all see
That,
it in the media every day, right? Like we understand how they're manipulating people. It's becoming much more obvious in your country these days, and obviously my country's gone to complete insaneville because of all of that same
oh,
messing.
I think our country is going absolutely insane. And Shane, I don't do politics, but apparently there's a big story brewing that the New York Times is going to brand every conservative show and commentator, 278 of them or something like that on YouTube, as misinformation, disinformation channels. And they're going to basically demand that YouTube demonetize everybody that's conservative.
Yeah.
And I just went, wait, aren't they supposed to be the fascists? And you want to censor like an entire political spectrum of this is crazy. And by the way, I'm not on either side. I'm an independent, or maybe I'm a libertarian. I've never decided, but I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. But it's getting crazy out here. It's getting crazy.
And people like the big sexy stories. So a lot of the time when people see me on a podcast, I get asked those questions. So that's what you're hearing. But what I choose to talk about is stuff like that, right? The fact that, like I told people in 2010 that something like QAnon was going to come along with the idea of basically turning conspiracy theorists into domestic terrorists so that they could eventually start changing all these laws. And all of that has happened in the last 4 years.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
a
Yeah.
while before it all happened, but it all has happened. And that's what I call proof in the result, because I can't offer people proof of my background or my experiences. But if I've had those experiences, it should show up in my character, and it should show up in the way that I can dissect the world.
Well,
And
apparently your track record for prophetic predictions is better than David Wilcock's.
yeah, very much so.
Did you
Absolutely. Yeah.
talking?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Like
When
one
you
of the
were
first questions I ever got asked as the ruiner was, if you know so much, what's going to happen next? I'm like, they're going to make Donald Trump the president, even though you all think he's going to lose, and that's going to change everything for the foreseeable future. And that actually did happen. So, and and at the time when he first became president, most people didn't think it was such a big deal. But let's look at it in retrospect, guys.
I
think
couldn't believe it. I still remember watching at the night of the election when he won, going, "Holy shit, this guy could win," and then holy shit, he won, and like what a shit show. But speaking as a family guy, I don't care what anybody says. Like my life was better. The inflation is through the roof now. Like I can see why people want to, the Democrats say we're not going back, and I always say, like, you don't want to go back to $2 a gallon gas and cheap groceries. Like, I can see why he may win again, because people are tired of this shit. The inflation is so bad,
It's all so bad, and it's such an obvious choice for you guys as to, like, do you want your poison served to you with sugar, or do you just want it straight? Is pretty much like the choice,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And
I still don't know what's going to happen, but I think there's going to be big riots and burning cities either way.
I've
More so if he wins, there'll be more. I think there'll be more violence if he wins than if the Democrats
See, I've
somehow
been saying
win. I
since
don't know.
2020 I didn't think that we would have another election because that was the way that this was all supposed to play out.
Well,
So
maybe that's the way David Wilcock got it. Did you know he's been saying for months that there won't be an election on November 5th? But now he's playing both sides. His last stream was like, it'll be a normal November.
no, I'm
So
actually having a party on the 8th. If the election happens, I'm having a party on the 8th because that's my first kind of public prediction that would be wrong. So if it's wrong,
oh,
great.
you don't think that the election will take place?
I never did, no, but at this point I do because it's like we're so close to it. They would have to
Yeah,
go
it's 1 week
really
away. Yeah.
off, right?
Well, there is
And
some interesting things, like there are some of the Democrats are saying essentially if Donald Trump wins, they're not going to seat him as president. They're going to say he's an insurrectionist and he doesn't qualify to serve in the White House. It would be historic because I don't think that's ever happened in the history of our country that a president has won the election and then the Congress or the Senate or whoever has to do this shit says, nope, we're not seating him. We won't certify the election. We're not seating him. Like, I don't know what would happen. It's
I'm
going to be
pretty
a
sure
mess.
Kamala gets the final say on that, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of weird in and of itself. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, then we generally stay away from politics here, but it's interesting that David Wilcock is, after doubling down for months, saying that, and I wanted to ask you, when you were very friendly with him, did you have honest conversations about some of his past claims? And were you aware that, for example, leading up to the year 2000, he said we were all going to get like rainbow light bodies and superpowers, and then nothing happened. He scrubs his website. In 2012, he pulled the same predictions out and said we're all going to ascend and get rainbow light bodies and superpowers and telekinesis. And none of that happened. And basically, he's saying it all again right now, Shane. Were you aware of when you were friendly and talking to him? And did you call him on some of this shit, or did you just
no, I didn't.
no?
I didn't really call him on anything because that's just what the community does. Like when I say I'm going to have a party because I'm wrong, that's the way I handle being wrong. The way everybody else handles being wrong is the dark side just postponed it on us. And we're going to have to wait until the white hats get control back. And that's going to be another 6 months or another year. And yeah, just about every one of them has been doing that for a long time. Like name one. Cliff High, him, Kim Possible. There's a bunch of them, and that's all they ever
You
do.
know what's a funny story about? I have a background in computer science, and I'm a coder. So this webbot shit, I said nobody's ever like really interviewed him and really drilled down on how does this work, and like, dude, he's totally full of shit. Like he couldn't even explain to me the basic premise of how his webbot predicts the future. And I know a lot about predictive models and algorithms, and he was totally out of his element speaking to a real coder. So I immediately was just like, Cliff High's full of shit. But he's a nice guy and I liked him as a person,
Yeah, and I mean I don't know why more people in this community can't do that too, right? Like I don't really appreciate people going out and my problem is that people in the audience believe us. And so if we're telling them stuff like that, they're making life decisions around stuff like that. Like people are selling the farm and moving. People are, going actually
it's
insane.
it's very
Because
dark. It becomes dark real fast when
and
you see the
people
consequences, right?
that exactly that there's human beings in the audience, and if you're being that irresponsible because you're just in it to make money, you are stringing other human beings along for this ride with you, and people are out there ruining their lives over this nonsense, breaking up with their families, leaving their husbands, all sorts of nonsense going on because of people like me. So we have a responsibility to have integrity or just not do it. right? And that was it. If I can't do it and maintain my integrity, I just wouldn't do it. And that was where I landed with it all.
Well, that was your first problem. You can't have any scruples if you're going to run the grift,
Yeah.
Shane.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
do you ever think about like the people that are like blindly giving money to David Wilcock? Because I do, and I just think they're like a lot of times it's like sad, lonely, desperate people that are kind of hopeless, and he's selling them that hopium, you know. Like, don't worry, we're all going to ascend and get superpowers next year.
Yeah, it's that, and the waves of people too. That's the one thing I stress is there's a wave system within the alternative community where new people come in and they get all sucked up in it. And there's a bunch of people within the cycle that figure out that he's full of shit and drop out. But by the time that happens, there's a whole new wave of people. And we just went through a big one in 2020 where everything blew up because of, the thing. And and they came into a community where we already had such a big dirty snowball of conspiracies that they can't tell what's real and what's not, but they're all going to find someone like David Wilcock and spend the next 6 months goo goo gaga over all of the stuff he's promising, right? And that's the difference there, is like the
Well,
promise.
I guess that's what happens. Like the people that were intensely believing him and following him in 2000, and then nothing happened. He goes away for 6 months. I call it the Cosmic Con Shuffle. Every time he has a major problem and nothing happens, he goes away for 6 months and then he comes back with fresh bullshit. And you're right, that next wave of people forget that he already predicted this or nothing happened the last time, and he's still got a viable business, and then do it again in 2012. Right now, Shane, I don't know if you know this, but he's predicting a mass disclosure of alien contact event by the next year, and the first wave of ascension. And I think he's very careful with his wording because he'll be able to say anything is the first wave of ascension. He can just point to something that happens in 2025 and say, yeah, that's the sign. It's the first wave of ascension, right?
Yeah. But what are they going to do? They know they're making it up, right? So it's all they can really do is spend the time between when they put out that prediction to the day of that prediction, coming up with their reason why it didn't happen and whatever their next prediction is, so that people forget that it didn't happen.
Well, alternate timeline, that's what ended up happening.
And then there's that, right? It's like, oh, the multiverse changed. Oh, it was CERN. I mean, CERN did it.
And I wanted to see, are you aware of some of his wackier predictions and what do you think of them? Like, or wackier claims of late? Because one of my favorites is that he is saying that he's talking to the Archangel Michael. And I know you're a smart guy, you know a good deal, I think, about theology. You know, there's this thing called the test of a prophet, which basically is a biblical principle that says if you're wrong even one time, you're not a prophet and you're not in communication with divine or angelic sources, because those sources would not lie to you and make you lie to the rest of humanity. In his first Archangel Michael book, he claims the Archangel Michael confirmed, and this is how great his timing is. His book comes out a month before those Corey Good depositions were published by me. And in his first book of the Michael prophecies, he says that the Archangel Michael confirmed that all of Corey Good's information was 100% accurate. And then a month later, we get the depositions where it's, I made it all up. So to me, right then and there, you fail the test of a prophet. You're not in communication with angels because they're lying to you. Do you think he really believes he's in communication? First, do you think he really believes he's in communication with angelic sources, or is it all a grift? And yeah, what do you think about this?
Well, it's always been a different character, right? Like if before Michael there was someone else, and before that it was, well, I guess the Alliance.
It was the Egyptian god Ra.
Raw, and yeah, his connection with Edgar Casey and everything back then too, right? So yeah, I mean, it's just what do you call it? The wacky world of David Wilcock. It just continues
The wacky world of Wilcock. Yeah, it keeps getting wackier.
And I mean, like, again, if he were to just be telling the truth that he's out there telling stories and believe what you want, then that'd be one thing. But like this constant, like, trying to tell people that all of this stuff is going to happen. All of this stuff is going to happen. But then nothing happens, and they keep doing it. There's too many of them to even start naming names, but it's been all the way through it. I can only blame the speaker so much because there's also the aspect of the community that needs to accept blame for this too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you guys are all fighting amongst yourself about which one of your whistleblowers are telling the truth, but not actually vetting the one that you like the most. And it really is kind of just a popularity contest in that way too. And then things like Max Spears happen, where, you know, a guy clearly dies of his own volition, like not saying that he committed suicide, but I'm just saying that there was very human causes for his death. And, we have to turn that into, oh, he was taken out for telling the truth. And we have Kerry Cassidy and Miles Johnson throwing a fucking paper. Again, sorry, I get really mad about this one. So we have, like, you know, everybody blowing up over that. And, you know, I've interviewed his mom as an example, just to be like, guys, there's human beings behind all of this stuff.
You're right. And it's funny you mentioned Kerry Cassidy, because there's you know the story of the alien reproduction vehicle and Mark McCandlish. Yeah. He tragically died of suicide, and Kerry Cassidy and all of these conspiracy mongers were all making money claiming that the deep state took him out. So what I did is I started making phone calls, and I spoke to the coroner who did the autopsy. I spoke to the responding police officer, all on the record. It was a suicide. He was depressed. He had money problems. It was a suicide. Yeah. And I kind of corrected them and called them on it. And it was funny. A few of these conspiracy land, lesser known, not Cassidy or some of the others, they contacted me and said, "You're right. I apologize." And they took their shit down, because I thought your benefit, you know, I've had a friend, or more than a friend, I've had multiple friends commit suicide. It's terrible to live through that. And for some jerk off to be on the internet going, we can make some money saying it was the Men in Black that did this, you know. And another example I thought of was this Phil Schneider, the guy who was in the base, and he got his lasers, he got his hand blown off by aliens. Did you know? It turned out that he had a rare mental condition that caused him to cut off and mangle his own body parts. And there's paperwork about this. So he's at a UFO conference holding up a hand with missing fingers, saying that lasers from aliens blew his fingers off in an alien battle. And meanwhile, I think a lot of the organizers of those conferences knew that this guy was just mentally ill, but they could make money. And that guy is another guy who died, and it looks weird the way that he died. He basically strangled himself with like a piano wire, but like, that one got turned into the Men in Black killed him because he was getting too close to the truth about the aliens and he was spilling the beans. But when you look into his history, he was a total nut job. Like, the FBI investigated him because he had uranium under his bed, and he was telling people he was going to build a nuclear bomb. And he had uranium under his bed.
Well, I do a lot of crazy things. Like, I'll disappear into the woods for a few days, and if I did something like that and I fell off a cliff and I died, the last thing I want is my kids reading on the internet that the Illuminati killed me. You know, so that's
what it would turn into, right?
You know what I mean? Because that is what this community does. And they build cults around these personalities, and then they blow all of these stories out. And I know you know Ryder, and he's got his conspiracy burrito. And I talk about the conspiracy snowball, which is that nobody goes back and knocks the foundation out of all these houses that they build on top of bullshit. When we find out,
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Right. We find out that so-and-so lied about something, but all these other generations of speakers built on that same lie, right? It's the same thing I did to Corey, where I'm like, oh yeah, that meeting last night with the Draco was intense, right? Knowing full well I wasn't at a meeting with any Draco. And he's like, oh man, I can't believe they grilled you like that. Like, that really was intense. You know, that kind of nonsense is what's going on there.
Oh, wow. I want to take a moment. We're a viewer-supported show to thank Legal Eagle for a kind and generous $20 super chat. I apologize. I don't have the praise the cash bumpers, this being new software, but Legal Eagle says, David says he desperately needs our help. I prefer to help Stephen. Praise the cash. Yes, praise the cash. I don't know if you know that, Shane. That's what we do here. Every time somebody sends a donation, we praise the cash, bitches. Thank you, Legal Eagle, longtime show supporter. And if there's any other super chats, we'll read them at the end. I apologize, but it's distracting. I don't think we have any others. No. I don't believe that we do. It's, when we have a guest here, I tend to wait on those, but we read every single one. So if you're feeling generous, throw a couple bucks in our hat for bringing you some of this exclusive information under threat of arrest and legal prosecution. Oh, I'm gonna have to buy more donuts. This may melt Wilcock's brain by the time he does his next stream. Like, and what? So after Corey Good got the gig, did Wilcock just kind of stop talking to you, and you guys stop communicating?
That's what he told me, that he wasn't allowed to talk to me because Lieutenant Gonzalez or whoever it was from the Alliance told him that I was the Illuminati and he wasn't to be trusted. And
When
that's
it was really Corey Good telling him to stay away from you, so he got the gig to himself, probably.
exactly. Right?
Interesting.
I didn't even want the gig. That's the funny part. Like, Corey, you can have it, dude. Like, I remember saying that to him before multiple times. Like, you're calling me jealous. I didn't want what you have.
Oh, it's so interesting that taking that job like destroyed his entire life, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And now he's claiming that he's making video games. And I don't know if you saw, he posted like his video game that looked like Unreal Tournament from 15 years ago. It's how bad it is. And like, I don't know. And now he's involved. I'm a family man. I heard so are you. So like, he's involving his children and his wife trying to make a documentary about him being a paranormal superstar now. And that's problematic for me, like if you want to be a liar on the internet, that's fine, but don't involve your children. But then again, by being a liar on the internet, your children, especially if they're like teenage years, like people are going to see the shit that you're saying on the internet and show your kids' friends and say like, look, their dad's a wackadoo,
Or what I did to the Bales family, because Bales is my like adopted last name and they're not really related to me, but everyone knows me as Shane Bales, right? So people are like Googling them and getting me and then hearing me talk about all of this stuff with,
it's crazy shit.
People, right? So yeah, I had multiple members of the Bales family who, they're sweet, awesome people. I love those people. They're great. They're not my real family, but they've always treated me like family. They were good. They didn't deserve to have me really running their name through the mud the way I had, right? But hindsight.
Well, my show name here is not my legal name, and it's funny. There's, I'm Polish, and in Polish culture, like you don't go into the arts with your family name, any arts, because you could embarrass your family. So, but I've had that name since I was like 14 years old. My first punk rock band sounded good, and it just stuck with me. And to this day, I don't use my legal name. Plus, I have a really hard, unpronounceable name. So, that doesn't help when you're being introduced on a stage show or something. Yeah, that's interesting.
Some of the theories themselves, like the Mandela effect as an example, when most recent one, when Bob Barker died. Imagine being Bob Barker's family, going on the internet and finding all these wackadoos talking about how he actually died when he retired from The Price is Right. Like that would really suck.
Yeah. And all those sexual abuse allegations and stuff.
And that,
he was pretty bad. Like them hot chicks on The Price is Right. He was like, listen, we're about to start. Give me a blowjob before we do. Like, oh, you don't want to hear that about Uncle Bob, I'm going to ask you for a prediction to sort of bookend things. So David Wilcock is predicting that he. Well, first I want to ask you this, because somebody told me that maybe you know something, maybe you don't. It's fine if you don't. Somebody told me that I must have melted Wilcock's brain because he's naming me on his stream, showing videos of my channel, saying he's getting me arrested and going to sue me, and I'm a Satan worshiping child predator. While he said I was a Satan worshiping child predator with zero evidence, while simultaneously claiming that I was slandering him and he was going to sue me and get me arrested, which is just bizarro land to me. Like, how dumb do you have to be to do that and think that this is going to work out for you? You think he would have saw Corey Good's lawsuits and say that's a bad idea, it might destroy my grift, but here we are. But I want to know, because people told me that knew him and knew him very well, that I must have melted his brain because he has some kind of policy where he just ignores every hater, every critic. He never comments, And so this was a bit of a change for him. What do you think about that? And do you know, like, is that the way that he usually does things, or?
No, you definitely must have, because like even with me, he's only really referred to me once, and it was very similar. Where I was like, "What was I doing? I was atoning for all of the people that I killed while I was working for the Illuminati," is what he had said. But without
You're a
actually,
murderer, see?
yeah, apparently. But yeah, like he's never done that before, so absolutely, you got under his skin for whatever reason. I think that what I've seen, and most of it has come through you, to be honest. What I've seen of him lately, it looks like he's just breaking down in general, almost like he's hit the end of the rope that is inevitable when you lie for a living.
Yeah, yeah. And I do think that the money's drying up. And so when the money starts drying up and you start really struggling, and you have this critic that does, like, a show every time you do and rips whatever you're saying apart and reminds people of all the falsehoods. We have these shows where I play clips. The internet never forgets. So, the mass arrests is one of my favorites. So we have this reel we play every time on his show. He starts talking about mass arrests. I just play the reel, and it's like, it's dated, like 2010, 2012, 2015, 2017, 2020. The mass arrests and the 3 days of darkness, it's coming soon. And I think that I started to melt his brain because he was like, shit, I can't say mass arrests anymore. And I always use that, you know?
Yeah. I think that is just in general catching up with people, because I've seen other ones. I won't go as far as to mention her name, but like she has to basically rebrand herself every 6 months because her audience catches on to the fact that she's lying, and the numbers start to dwindle. And instead of like reducing your lifestyle or any way, or getting used to a smaller paycheck or anything like that, these people just go with the bigger, sexier story and make it get right back to where they were. It's like chasing a dragon, like any addict might do. And yeah.
Yeah, I guess people are very passionate about these conspiracy land topics, though. They so desperately want to believe, and they really hate anybody that shows them. We peel back a lot of layers of deception here, and I pride myself on that, but some people really don't like it. Like, I am the devil to some people, Shane the Ruiner.
No,
I
I
should have
understand.
been Steve Cambion, the ruiner of UFO delusions and alien delusions. And have you do you still like, sort of, do you catch up on what's going on with the secret space people? Because there's some stuff going on now that's so ridiculous. Like, Michael Salla has a new whistleblower, and he wears an airsoft mask, and he talks about being in med beds and shit. And it's so, I'm going to see if I can find it. We'll play a little portion of it and get your reaction, because it's just, this is the height of, like, this is how stupid and ridiculous the secret space program grift has become. That now there's guys with, like, airsoft masks that are saying they got med bed treatments, and they got their leg blown off, and then it came back, or what, like, it's so stupid. Oh, I do have it.
Almost like they're doubling down on what I've said, because I've drawn the inference between furries and super soldiers.
Oh my god.
I
Those
think
are
they're kind of the same thing, to be honest. I think it's a bit of a dysmorphia. I think it's a lot of delusion, but I don't think that there's actually super soldiers out there on the internet talking about it.
Oh, come on. That can't be true, because Michael Salla is a respected professor, and he wouldn't lie to us,
No, I've had enough
right?
conversations with him to not respect him, that's for sure.
Oh my god, that guy is. It's funny Corey Good turned on him, right?
Yeah.
But and I don't have a fair use banner, so oh yeah, I do. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. Just bear with me one second, and we'll get this going. Because when I saw this, I go, I gotta think I gotta show this to Shane the Road and see what he thinks of this, because it is so stupid. I have a fair use. This is a comedic parody, but this is fair use. It's a transformative work. We're educating the public. We're critiquing the video that we are sharing, and lawyer letters are standing by if anybody wants to falsely copyright claim me. Let me see. How do we get this? Then we try this again. I can never get this right. Hold on one second. I have to. Sorry about that. I really have to spend some time learning this. But this is his new whistleblower, and he is JP. That's his name, JP. and he's from the U.S. Army. And let's just hear a little bit. He was inside a med bed. And this is how he appears. And this is a college professor, Shane the Ruiner.
Army serviceman.
It's a beautiful experience, Doc. You get to meet other people that served, and they're allowed to talk, more than when you are active duty. Some things you still can't talk about because of the, procedures and all that, and everything that you sign. But you get to know other people from different timelines in the military.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's interesting.
Different
When I say
timelines.
different timeline, when you go to the Veterans Affair, you see people of all ages that served in different times. So when you talk about your experience to some of these guys, they tell you their experiences. And then that's when you know how everything started
It's
advancing.
got to remain
So
anonymous, Shane
it's
the
quite
Ruiner.
interesting.
This is information.
Right. And of course, you're wearing a helmet, so you need to keep your identity secret for some time. So you want to just recapitulate why it's necessary to keep your identity a secret
He's
for now.
probably a child pig.
It's a protection for my family. And if I get future offers dealing with, the DOD or, other agencies, it's for me to stay protected.
He's got to protect himself, Shane
If
the
I
Ruiner.
do something else other than what I'm doing now.
Other than
Right.
grifting.
And of course, just over 2 weeks ago, you appeared on stage at the GSIC conference in Westminster, Colorado. So
With a
how
mask.
did it feel being in front of the general public? And there were over 1,000 people there.
It was a beautiful energy, so much love, so much people. It was
Oh, God.
an experience that I would never change. I cannot
much love, so much
comprehend
energy, Shane Ruiner.
how much love can fit in one room.
Oh, it's all
Doc,
love and light. Oh, God. Well, hold on a second here. There's so much love. It's all love and light.
Cheering up inside the helmet. But yeah, that tactic of bringing people out at conferences is actually one that was pitched to me at one point in time before I ever did my first interview. Was if you're not, because I got asked to do interviews by people who recognized who I was, and I said no. That becomes another side story because that man got very mad at me because my first interview ended up being with Carrie. But anyways, I had said no for a long time leading up to
Wait, you did an interview with Carrie Cassidy on purpose?
Yeah, that was my first ever interview was with Carrie Cassidy.
Oh, she's such a whack job.
And you know who vetted me? Was Mark Richards in prison, apparently. Vetted me to Carrie.
Oh, and told, yeah. So
Yeah.
the guy in prison who's been in prison for murder for 35 years and is going on secret space adventures and saving Earth.
Yeah.
I guess he's teleporting out of his jail cell, but he's nice enough after he saves Earth and hangs
He
out with
recognized
aliens.
He recognized me from the program, so he knew I was telling the truth. And I've had
Yeah.
lots of other people play that game with me over the time too, like little kid who thought I was his brother at Montauk, and had a major meltdown when I said he's really just living in his mom's basement, sad because mom and dad broke up. But
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's poor Shane the Ruiner. He just ripped this poor kid a new asshole who thought he was a secret
I
space
tried not to,
soldier or
man.
something.
But
You ripped him up, and then isn't it like we'll try to? I don't know if you're aware, but there's also this. There's a lot of criminal element involved in this. Like we here at Truth Seekers have personally busted probably 4 now convicted child predators.
Yep.
That are like, some of them are on Megan's Law websites as being registered offenders. And then we've got Mark Richards, who's in jail for murder. Carrie Cassidy, no, he's a secret space hero.
Yeah.
And now we've got, in the UFO community, there's this new guy that claims he's a whistleblower. And he's a bank robber that robbed all these banks. And he's in jail for like 75 years. And he's also a child predator. And somehow his girlfriend comes to visit him at prison and then puts the phone up to the glass. I'm not kidding. This really happens. puts the phone up to the glass, and then he talks in Twitter Spaces to wackadoos. And we did a whole story on him. People labeled me a CIA disinformation agent. And I'm like, you can call the prison where he's living and find out that he's living in the prison. And of course, guess in that case, just like what you mentioned that one wackadoo co-signed for your, no offense, wackadoo claims, which neither of you had any proof, but he said he co-signed and said, oh no, he's telling the truth. Yeah. In this guy's case, guess who co-signed for that guy in prison?
I don't know.
Richard Doty. Richard Doty said he got secret briefings that, yes, that man got secret briefings about aliens and UFOs from the United States government.
Yeah.
And this, of course, he did that before he knew that the guy was doing those Twitter Spaces from prison.
Yeah.
And then he tried backpedaling that after that. You know, we had his whole rap sheet. The guy was in prison the whole time, in and out of prison the whole time. He claims he was getting these top secret briefings. And then he authenticated he's like, I'm authenticating. This is real TR3B footage. It was like a 12-year-old CGI hoax that was proven to be a hoax by like 12 different websites. And why?
That most of them have that, where there's either a criminal element why they can't get a regular job, or something like what was true with Corey, where he had just injured himself very badly and couldn't do what his regular.
Well, then he sued his employer, and it's always easy to get a job after they find out you sued your last
exactly
employer.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So that was his situation. And you just mentioned other, people who just got out of jail. What are they going to go do? Go bust their ass for doing labor for $10 an hour or something, or go on the internet and make up nonsense about Tartaria? I mean,
well, you have a good attitude about it, definitely. All right, this is one of your fans here, so we're going to close with this. Shane, is dark energy in physics an illusion caused by the space snow globe overlaying our reality? I need to know these kind of things as a physicist, says Aaron Flores. I hear he's a big fan of yours, Shane.
It's dark energy in physics. I really don't know the answer to that question, to be honest, because I am not a scientist.
Okay, well, thank you, Aaron Flores, for helping us to praise the cash, and we appreciate you. Thanks for appreciating us. I'm sorry we couldn't get you an answer. I think he has a background in physics. The UFO community is filled with diddlers, says Tide Lee. It's true. There's a lot of kitty touchers in this thing,
And a lot of just gross men in general that are really gross to women and things like that. But there's also groupies in this world, for those of you who don't know, as you might have heard about.
Oh, sure. Right? Did you know one time at Conscious Life Expo, there were warnings in the women's bathrooms to be careful around the gurus? If you're a young lady, I swear to God, we did a whole story on it because somebody sent me pictures and I was like, are you kidding me? They're basically saying, be careful you don't get hard while you're at our Love and Light conference by a guru.
When Cosmic Disclosure was being pitched to me, I was basically being pitched the role of a rock star, right? Like, I'm going to get drugs, I'm going to get women, I'm going to get, a nice hotel to live in.
They offered you that?
This is the kind of stuff he was talking about in that conversation.
Oh, you get all the drugs you want, alcohol, women.
And then that all did start coming out during the Cosmic Disclosure thing because Corey's not very clever. And
he was partaking in all of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it also would explain why Corey Good, in those depositions and then in Leon Isaacs Kennedy's testimony in a video, he basically said like, oh yeah, I got Corey Good a $50,000 loan, and less than 30 days later, he needed another $50,000. Like, there's got to be a reason you blow. I don't know. Maybe it's just that I'm cheap and I live very like cheap and simple. Cocaine. Like $50,000, I'd be good for a year before I needed money again.
Cocaine ain't cheap, and it usually leads to needing brand new shiny teeth.
You're absolutely right. So I want to ask you, because I don't know, what is it that you're doing? Are you still doing like any of this conspiracy land stuff, or have you just largely?
Well, most of the conversations I have outside of my own Patreon channel are conversations like this these days, where I'm like, I jokingly say that I spend most of my time talking conspiracy theorists down off of cliffs. So even within my
sounds like what I do here.
Yeah. even behind my own paywall, we're very grounded in reality. I tell the stories, but everyone within my audience understands that they're stories, and nobody's treating me like I'm their guru. And I don't like cults, so culty people get to leave. But that's my way of not having to deal with the noise of the alternative community. But I'll still talk to someone like you and people like RUINER, and just like I did with someone like CW back in the day, because I appreciate this side of this community. This community needs way more Stevens than it needs Shanes. It's right. We need a lot more critical thinking than we need big, sexy stories. Because yes, there's some truth to it, but you're burying whatever truth is there in your wackadoo nonsense at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate you doing this. I really do. I think we went a little over time. I apologize. So, but thank you for doing this, because I think it's important for people to hear this inside baseball and know that when you watch these so-called UFO celebrities on a television show, a streaming service, a UFO conference, whatever it may be, buy their book, buy their documentary, it's a grift. It's basically a grift, and even they know it. But thanks for confirming that for me, so I know I'm not insane here, right?
It's the same thing I've been saying since the very beginning to Corey. If you had all of those experiences, your character should reflect that. If you've had 20 extra years of life, your character should reflect that. And if you can have breakdowns on a forum because someone called you a liar, you must not believe what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I think about the Corey Good suing everybody. Like, you're supposed to be so spiritually evolved.
Yeah.
Couldn't you just forgive the people? And same for David Wilcock. You're supposed to be a spiritual guru. And like, I made fun of you and made funny videos about you, so you're going to sue me and get me arrested? You're telling everybody I'm a child P and a Satan worshiper?
Yeah.
And by the way, his evidence that I was a Satan worshiper is that I wore a mask, a devil mask on my show. That was his evidence. It's crazy.
Well,
Why can't he just forgive me, though? He's talking to angels. Wouldn't the angels say, just forgive him, turn the other cheek, right? Wouldn't the angels say, you can't do that? You're a spiritual guru.
I'm going to tell everyone you're just an Agent Smith because you wear those Neo glasses, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's a funny thing. People attack me for that. I have third nerve palsy, so I have a.
I know you do. That's
yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
But
I always tell people the same thing when they make a nasty comment about wearing glasses. I say, yeah, I'm half blind, but maybe there's some kids in wheelchairs you could go make fun of.
Right? You know you're winning when they attack something like that on you. Let's put it that way.
Well, they can't attack my research. It's usually pretty good, right? Well,
Yeah,
thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. And if you'll do it, we'll have you come back and we'll get woo. We'll go woo.
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you what I believe and what I.
Oh, and can you send me the link to your Patreon, because if people are more curious, people, or tell us how do they find you on Patreon?
Just don't.
He doesn't even want to plug. See, this is a decent guy.
Just don't. Unless this does interest you, then just don't.
And it's a shame, Shane. It's a shame, Shane.
And on a regular basis, you don't need to listen to what I'm saying.
It's a shame, Shane, that you don't live closer to me, because I have a new in-person guest studio, and guess what it includes? A polygraph machine.
Ooh, fancy. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I think it would be fun. If you ever get down here, I'm right near Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. It's not too far. Come on, you could do a 16-hour drive and come over here. I'll buy you dinner. It'll be fun. But I thank you for doing this, and I appreciate you for trying to educate people out of the rabbit hole a lot, like I do here. Yeah, I'm going to throw you out, and wrap up the show so you can bounce on out of here. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. This was fun conversation, and I love these kind. It's effortless, Thanks. You have a good evening.
You too.
All right. There we go, friends. Another one in the history book. I love it when it's an easy, effortless conversation. And despite all of our differences, we built some common ground tonight. And instead of burning a bridge, I built one. We want to check in real quickly with these super chats. For those unaware, we're a viewer-supported show. We read every single super chat. We thank every single person. If you become a YouTube channel member during the live broadcasts, we give you a shout-out and a thank you as well. I think we got the super chats. It appears that we did. I'll check in very quickly. You can also send a PayPal pledge or buy me a coffee. As always, we want to thank two people. Mike Larry, who's the MVP of buying me a coffee. I don't know. He's bought hundreds of coffees for me. and also our mysterious benefactor whose huge PayPal donation enabled us to basically build a whole nother studio. We want to thank Nemesis Bex for a kind and generous $9.55 US dollars. Who says best show on YouTube. We want to thank Maria for kind and generous, wow, very generous $100 or $100 PayPal pledge. Who says, I'm so excited that we're returning to the wacky world of Wilcock. Yes, thank you so much, Maria, for your kindness, generosity, and support, and you as well, Nemesis Bex. I don't have the bumpers, so I'll just say it like this. Praise the cash, friends. I got to fix that, but we'll have the bumpers by tomorrow. I'm going to do this later this evening. We'll take a moment to, thank you, Arlene Atkins. I enjoyed this guest and discussion. Aaron Flores, I'm sorry you didn't get to ask another question. I believe he may return and talk about all of the things that you find fault with. You'd be happy to know that I will take whatever questions you have for him if he returns. I'd be happy to send you any of his questions off air and copy and paste whatever replies he has. And, I'm sorry that you've taken issue with his appearance here. I know that the guy's got a lot of wacky claims. Basically, I'm in the Illuminati and all these other things. It's really wild. But we got a stunning admission from him tonight that he just made up a lot of the stuff on his blog, like a lot of these people do. Good guests. Now dancing aliens. Well, I apologize. We don't have the dancing aliens. In fact, I don't even have an exit bumper. I still have a lot of work to do on this new software in order to get everything working. Let's take your comments and questions. So comments and questions for me, please put them in all capital letters. It really, really does help. All right. Oh, you're talking about a polygraph. Aaron Flores says, no, I was talking about the polygraph. Well, I can only do the polygraph when somebody is physically in the studio here with me. I can't do it with a virtual guest. Why do such a thing? Well, I value the information that he could share about the inside baseball and David Wilcock. And by the way, I verified much of that information with several different people who were involved at the time who told me that Shane's telling the truth. He was going to get that gig, the Corey Good gig, but he didn't really want it, and he turned it down. And so Corey Good, all of a sudden, his story got much more, I don't want to say impressive, much more expansive so that he could fill out an entire television show with more BS, essentially. QCW says, neat blue fire border effect. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. This new software, we've got a lot of new things. So Kino Casino, somebody's mentioning Kino Casino in the live chat and in messages to me. For those unaware, there's a show called Kino Casino, which I love it so far. One of you viewers suggested it. Forgive me if I don't have that name right in front of me. One of our viewers suggested you got to go on this show, Kino Casino, and these two guys, they're a lot like the Hidden in Plain Sight podcast. It's two show hosts, and they just rip people to shreds and make fun of things on the internet. But they're very creative and artistic. They wear different costumes, right? Like you tune in to one show and one host is dressed like Willy Wonka from the Chocolate Factory, and the co-host is dressed and made up completely like an Oompa Loompa, right? But I don't mean like they just do it quick. It's like crazy theatrical level good costumes. And then you tune into them the next day. The show's called Kino Casino. I think they have a YouTube channel called Kino Casino Clips on YouTube, but they're big Kick streamers. But anyway, you tune in and they're like a Oompa Loompa and Willy Wonka one day. The next day you tune in and one guy is dressed like the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland, and the other guy's dressed like the rabbit and they do this show where they just make fun of everything. So somebody suggested that I should go on their show, and I'm going to be doing that this coming Monday at I think 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We're still trying to work it out. As soon as I have links, because and I want to thank them, by the way, because they played some of our clips on their show, and I got like 300 subscribers. They have a huge following, and I'm very thankful for the bump. Yes, YOY Fools says the Pholastic Kino Casino is a weekly podcast discussing the latest internet drama from the biggest degenerates in this sector of the internet. Yeah. Admiral Rascals. Just how long do you think Wilcock will keep doing his grift? I think he will do his grift until he dies. I don't think he'll ever get a real job or do anything meaningful with his life, which is sad. Like Shane was talking about. Imagine waking up every day like I got to lie to people. William Runner is here, longtime show supporter, and says, I think being a grifter, which is being a liar to make money off crap you don't even believe, that's disgusting in my eyes. Yeah. Jewel Pop, why are they all claiming to be visited by aliens? Well, first of all, it's very profitable. Aaron Flores, again, I'm not sure what your problem with this guy is, and sorry that you feel that way. I was talking about why would he embark on the journey of being like that. Don't really know. I would be happy to interview him here. I'd rather interview Shane about his other claims here in the studio because I could hook him up to the polygraph. The Watcher says, I missed David Wilcock's stream the other night. I was watching Trump. Yeah, there's some interesting things with this election. Like you can't find the Joe Rogan podcast with Trump. I wish everybody would just be fair. Like, that shit's not fair. It's like, oh, it's always a glitch, or, oh, that was a mistake. That was a problem. But it always favors one side, all these problems, it's crazy. But we stay out of politics here because, Kevin Alt says, talk more about the fake grift you might try. Yes, you are referencing, Kevin Alt, Grift Month. For those unaware, it's very difficult for us to get our enough, money to run the show without being grifters here. Everybody else can grift. We can't really grift. We've got to do this the honest way. So I came up with a great concept that I call Grift Month. And so what we're going to do is, for 1 month out of the year, Kevin Alt, we are going to become grifters. I'm going to be posting UFO videos that may or may not be alien motherships. I'm going to be posting Bigfoot videos that may or may not be real Sasquatch creatures captured on film. I'm going to be posting flying saucer footage, good videos, never before seen videos. And we're going to become grifters. For 1 month out of the year, we will just become grifters. And I'm hopeful that this will be taken as what it is. It's going to be a social experiment where we can make some money for 1 month out of the year being grifters. But then at the end of Grift Month, we're going to pick apart everything we posted. We're going to talk about the results. For all we know, we're going to get some viral videos and make a lot of money doing Grift Month. But then I'm going to show you the behind the scenes. And if you're a Patreon supporter or a YouTube channel member, you're going to get the behind the scenes before anybody. And I'm going to show you, this is how I made this video. This is how I made this video. Basically, I'm going to take all I learned from the best UFO, well, the worst UFO hoaxing grifters on YouTube, Third Phase of Moon, and I'm going to do it better than them. So we're going to do Third Phase of Moon, but not as hokey and not as stupid, and not as gay. We're going to do it cool. And we're calling it Grift Month. I don't know when, Kevin Alt. I'm still trying to get videos together for that. Yes, YOY Fool says, if you can't beat him, Stephen, then join him. Yeah. By the way, I just want to take a moment. I'm supposed to do this. One of the sponsors of our show is the new software we're using. It's called EVMux. You can visit them at evmux.com. Works a lot like StreamYard or Restream or a lot of these other softwares to run podcasts and shows and television show, whatever, off of. But it's like half the price. And there's an affiliate link in the description of this video or podcast. So please, if you're going to sign up, use that affiliate link. You can save yourself half the money you're spending on StreamYard right now. And they will not take features out and make you pay more to get them back or whatever. Yes, you should just post a picture of a dome light and claim it's a UFO. Yeah, like a certain grifter we know, who's, by the way, I'm living rent-free in that clown's mind, Algaray. He's losing his mind on Twitter saying, I'm a grifter, I'm a scammer. Notice, though, he never has any receipts for any of the shit that he says about me. Meanwhile, I can prove that he's a low-life grifting scumbag hoaxer, and we did several times. And you gotta love it when the guy's doing a show and my reruns like double his show numbers. My reruns double his show numbers. So that guy should just shut his mouth and keep my name out of his mouth. Or maybe we'll do another round of destroying what's left of his dwindling following of retards. And I'm sorry to use that word. I have a special needs son, but if you watch that guy, you have mental problems. You're a little mentally not there, not with it. Maybe you have some mental problems. Maybe you have a mental deficiency, like maybe you're just low IQ. I mean, who knows, right? Make some alien mummies. Well, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. That's a great idea. Kevin Alt says, hell yeah to Griff Month. Yes. Yeah, I think we're definitely going to do it. We're definitely going to do it. So I'm going to find a video to play us out with, if you just bear with me for one moment. One second, I think I got it. Oh God, this one's perfect. So we'll play us out with Wilcock talking about taking baths in his own piss in order to get superpowers. And I do have some prepared comments about the disgusting, despicable, false accusations that David Wilcock made about me, my show, and more. Also want to put on the record, this is very important. I forgot to do it at the beginning of the broadcast, but the purpose of my show is never to denigrate, humiliate, or otherwise cause any emotional distress to anybody. The purpose of my show is to fact check people making fantastic claims on the internet. And if they're making wacky, weirdo claims like, hey, angels told me to take baths in my own piss to get superpowers, then I'm allowed to make fun of that because it's ridiculous and stupid and childish to go on the internet and tell people that angels are telling you to take baths in your own piss to get superpowers, and that you then use those superpowers to possibly save Trump from that assassin's bullet. I'm allowed to make fun of that. The other purpose of our show is to inform people that a lot of these people that are out there begging for money on the internet for their secret, sacred knowledge are nothing more than modern day snake oil salesmen. I'm not doing anything wrong talking about David Wilcock or making comedic parody videos making fun of him. He deserves this. And he especially deserves whatever comes next after telling everybody that I'm a Satan worshiper or a child predator. After all, I have children of my own. How dare he say that about a working father and husband? How dare he say that I'm a Satan worshiper? His only evidence for that is that I wore a devil mask. Come on, man. You can't do that, David Wilcock. And you don't get to silence me. You don't get to decide what I'm allowed to talk about on my own show. I don't get to decide what he talks about, right? I get to design my own content, and so should he. And nothing should be off the table. He should not be allowed to silence me with legal threats of getting me arrested. But of course, these things that David Wilcock says about me are just as fake as all of his other all of his other fake claims. After all, the guy is like completely and totally been making fake claims on the internet for, oh, I don't know, what, like 30 years now? So why should we not expect him to make other stupid fake claims, calling people Satan worshipers and child predators because they were critical? And let's be clear, that tactic was used by Corey Good against all his critics. And look how great it turned out for him. And, as I said in the interview with Shane, if he's such a spiritual guru and I'm just some asshole making fun of him on the internet, can he just forgive me? Wouldn't the angel tell him to forgive me because I have a very difficult life and I'm the father of a nonverbal autistic child and my life is difficult enough without a frivolous lawsuit requiring tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend because I made fun of him on the internet? I think so. I think an angel would tell him that you can't do this to that person. But, what do I know? I'm not a spiritual guru. I'm just a guy with facts in hand before putting mouth in gear. David Wilcock falsely claimed that I called animal control on him or sent animal control emails. We showed you who did that. It wasn't me. He falsely claimed I got him swatted. We showed you the body cam footage, which, by the way, he owes me $150 for. I shouldn't have had to spend that money out of the show's budget to prove that he's a liar. Interesting and amazing that he suffered no real damages that he could show. I've suffered several $100s in damages already due to his false claims and false accusations against me, and I got the receipts, Mr. Wilcock. But it is what it is, and this is where we find ourselves. So let's go back to the comments. We'll take a few more comments, but I think we've done our due diligence. I always have problems with this. One second. Last time I had problems getting back to this as well. Well, what I can do is just do a pop out on the chat, but yeah. I have trouble because this is brand new software for us. Why are we not going back? Is it still uploading the video that I sent him? Well, I think. All right, one second. Let me try to fix this, friends. Oh, back. Got to go to the back button. Have you noticed how David Wilcock does acting skits like you do? Angry Dad, almost as if he's emulating you. Yes, I'm not sure. QCW. For people who don't know this, I have infected David Wilcock with a mind virus. And that mind virus is driving him crazy. So he's doing things like copying me, trying to be as cool as me. He never did skits or used masks or did characters before watching me do it, realizing how cool we are here and trying to rip us off and emulate it. Because if David Wilcock ever had an original idea, it would die of loneliness. Everything he talks about is just copied and pasted from somebody else's work for the vast majority of it, right? He's very, very unoriginal. We want to thank Rotary Motion for a kind and generous £2 super chat who says, fascinating video, very deep indeed, amazing. Even the table is a grifter, says Archaic Revival. Yes. Talmud says good work, right? We appreciate that. Aaron Flores says, ridicule is powerful because it's impossible to defend against it. Wilcock provides plenty of ammo for that. Yes, he absolutely does. And Aaron Flores, I did some checking. No one, to my knowledge, has ever successfully sued someone for doing a comedic parody. the courts basically say if you're a public figure and somebody does a comedic parody about you, you got to just live with it. You can't sue somebody for doing a funny bit about you if you're a public figure, you know. Rotary Motion says psychological warfare. Yeah, I've infected David Wilcock with the Truth Seekers virus. It's a mind virus. Everybody should be aware that I was once a stage magician, a stage mentalist, and hypnotist. So maybe I've hypnotized David Wilcock using various techniques I learned along the way, and infected him with an insidious mind virus that will let him think of nothing else but this guy on the internet that keeps busting his grift. Very powerful mind viruses can be, right? Why a White Fool says, suck it up, Buttercup, and that David Wilcock is paranoid. Archaic Revival says, happy Halloween. Halloween. Yeah, absolutely. And I believe we've got another episode of the Wacky World of Wilcock on Halloween night here for all of you guys. I thought about doing a Halloween show or a panel show, but those always are difficult and descend into chaos, and people drinking, doing party favors. They never go real well on holidays, those panel shows that we do. But I do have good news. We can do up to 12 guests at once now with the new software. So I'm looking forward to doing a panel show, and we're going to be doing a panel show. And we can have up to 12 people at once on the screen. So people that are not fit. Comedy. It's ridiculous that I have to explain stuff like this to him. One second. Comments. Yeah. So the Matrix was broken for a second there. Yeah. That's it. He'd been swatted. The next show is tomorrow night. Kevin Auld is asking. The next show is tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be talking about Lou Elizondo, who just got caught selling a ridiculous and stupid UFO, fake UFO photo, using the old Pepper's Ghost that we're very familiar with, having busted Third Phase of Moon using that same method many times to create fake UFO videos. Yeah. So I apologize for the technical issues. I'm hopeful as we continue to use this software, we'll have less of these technical problems so that we're able to, not have these little technical glitches. So I apologize for those, but I always say it's a live show and you get the show warts and all. So if there's problems, you get that too, but we try to make things run as smooth as possible. Yes, Lou Elizondo, I'll be talking about your dumb ass tomorrow. Stop scamming people. You took money from people. You took money from people for a public live event about UFOs, and then you showed them fake photos of a UFO that's been busted for a long time as a fake photo of a UFO. Yes, Lou Elizondo. Everybody's threatening to sue me lately. Lou Elizondo says, see you in court. Yeah, get in line. You're going to have to wait. David Wilcock comes first. So we're going to put our fair use display banner up. This is fair use. This is a comedic parody. And yes, it's a comedic parody, just playing things that he says, because he's saying that he got superpowers because an angel told him to take a bath in piss. Okay, I'm allowed to make fun of this. And I will aggressively defend my constitutional rights to make fun of some dumbass on the internet that says things this stupid. So here you are, friends. That's all I got for you. I want to thank all of you for joining us. We had excellent attendance for our first show back at the Wacky World of Wilcock, which I'm glad, because he shouldn't have been able to stop me from doing this for 2 months with his stupid, nonsensical threats and his false accusations. And, maybe it was a mistake taking that long off, but I have to protect myself. I had to talk to lawyers, media, insurance companies, journalist organizations that help protect against these frivolous lawsuits. We're going to have multiple layers of protection to prevent this lunatic from, attacking us this way with these fake legal threats and fake threats of me getting me arrested and false accusations of me being a Satan worshiper, or worse yet, a child pea. And you got to admire the stupidity of David Wilcock, who told everybody I was a Satan worshiping child predator and then said, I'm going to sue that guy for slander. Great job, genius. You just handed me a countersuit. David Wilcock is dumb as rocks. But it is what it is. So I'll be back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We want to thank our guests, Shane, the Ruiner, and thank all of you for joining us. So that's all I got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you, especially you, David Wilcock. You need a goddamn psychiatrist if you believe any of the shit that you're telling your dumb as rocks followers. Good night, and God bless all of you.
Earth appears to be more about how you draw the telekinesis out of the earth. And I'm going to talk about this in the Ascension philosophy. I'm going to go in way more detail on the telekinesis exercises that Michael has been giving me telepathically. So, take it or leave it, whether you believe that this is true. But if he wrote a book in 1999 that's telling the future now, he's probably telling me the truth about how to get your telekinesis to work too. Because it is actually getting results. I am getting it to work. I never ever thought this would happen. I never thought I would be able to develop this ability unless I died and ascended into some angelic being. But apparently it's happening to me first because it's going to be happening to you later on. And I'm here to tell you how to get ready for it. So this was a very, very strange one where I was in the tub, because another part of the thing is the telekinesis bathtub. So the telekinesis bath is one of the things that Archangel Michael has been making me do. I have to take a bath. I cannot take a shower. I am forbidden to take a regular shower. I am supposed to bathe, and I'm supposed to bathe every day, but only in a bathtub. And then another one of the really funny things is that you have to pee in the bathtub. He wants your DNA in the water. So I have been using scented oils. There's a perfume company out there that has some really wonderful stuff. I recommend... I'm not going to say what it is. I recommend, let's just say, okay, well, this one is generic enough. Even if you just do sandalwood and eucalyptus, those to me seem to be two of the most activating, because a lot of these compounds that smell really good have what are called sesquiterpenes, which are smell compounds that actually pineal gland. So sandalwood definitely, Palo Santo definitely, eucalyptus definitely. There's other ones that you can find. I would say just try it out and see what bath oils work for you. But the peeing part apparently is important because it's getting your DNA outside your body into a medium that touches your skin, which gets into this whole inside-out thing where you have to turn yourself inside out and become the universe. So apparently peeing in the bathtub is a good way to get you there. I don't know. I'm just following my instructions. I've noticed that there's an incredible amount of grief purging that goes on in the bathtub. Almost every time I take a bath, I'm releasing pain and sadness. And also, at least in the earlier stages, he wants you to stay in the bathtub until all the water drains out. So you gotta pull the frickin' thing and then sit in there, wait for the tub to drain out. It's a pain in the ass. But another big thing is that I've been healing my joints. And so when you're in the tub, if you have any issues with your joints where there's stiffness and pain, I've been doing rolfing very extensively, and it's all about finding the part of the range of motion that doesn't want to move. And then you fix that range of motion by actually working it. So it's similar to like physical therapy. And it turns out that I had enormous atrophy in my right leg. So another one of the things that Michael has been going into, and you're going to hear a lot more about this in Ascension Philosophy. This is the online course I'm going to be launching really pretty soon, because it looks like with my aerospace work that I'm going to have to be doing a lot of meetings and a lot of traveling. And so this is probably one of the last times I'm going to be able to do Sunday teachings week after week without being interrupted. And it
Oh, my friends, I decided to come back because in order to make this fully a comedic parody, this guy, David Wilcock, is telling people that angels are telling him to take baths in his own piss. And he's going to sue me because I say that's not true. Because an angel wouldn't do that. That's my opinion and my constitutional free speech, and rights to freedom of speech and expression. I'm allowed to say that this guy is a goddamn lunatic. I'm allowed to say that this guy is a complete and total wackadoo. And how dare he threaten to sue somebody for saying that he's a wackadoo, for telling a huge following. He's getting hundreds of thousands of views on his videos. He's telling everybody, the angels told me to take pee baths to get superpowers, and I did it, and it worked. It's just so stupid. It's absolutely ridiculous and stupid. And this is part of what we do here, is we make fun of the wacky world of Wilcock. Welcome to the internet. I have that doll, but I don't want to reach around and get it. Show me on this doll, David Wilcock, where Stephen Cambion hurt you on the internet. It's just so stupid. And you're dumb enough, Wilcock, to tell people that you're going to get me arrested. By the way, he said there was a big investigation between Boulder County Sheriff and Philadelphia Police. No, there isn't. He just lied through his fake teeth. You gotta love it. So I will no longer be silenced by a lunatic who's on the internet telling people that angels are telling them to take piss baths to get superpowers. No, you're not silencing me. But good luck if you think that that's going to work out for you. So yes, friends, that's all I got for you. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.